and welcome to the 22nd episode of PauseCast. It is Friday, December 9th, 2016. I'm Jessica Alouette, and I use she/her pronouns. Normally, I'm joined by Mark Hanna. Unfortunately, his voice is totally shot this week, but instead, I'm proud to say that we have the show's first guest, host of RuneScape Ladies' Night and RuneScape Weekly, as well as a member of Feminist War Cult. I'd like to welcome Harley Quinn.
Hey everyone, I am excited to be the first guest. I've been listening to the show since it started. I guess I should say before I forget that I use she/her pronouns. And yeah, I am happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to join me this week.
Oh, you are most welcome.
Harley, I want to start out right away by asking you what you've been playing this week.
Well, I feel like I should probably start with the most obvious thing I've been playing this week, which is RuneScape. It's the game I'm playing every week.
I think that seems like kind of a dead giveaway.
It does. You know, I only do 2 podcasts about it. It's
only two
shocker.
podcasts.
Yeah, only 2.
Oh, it's like nothing. It's like you don't play the game at all.
Yeah, what a scrub I am, for sure.
A total noob.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have been playing RuneScape. I have been doing a lot of high-level PVM in that game, boss killing. It takes a long time to get to like the end game RuneScape bossing, and it's something that I hadn't been at in a long time because I quit the game for many years, but I just got... In September, there was a double XP weekend, so I got the skills up that I needed to get up, and now I am killing the second hardest boss in the game, and very much enjoying it.
Very nice. You tend to play like a lot of MMOs, huh?
Yeah, I really do. I picked up RuneScape when I was 14, and MMOs have been a thing in my life ever since. I went to WoW for a little while, and I've tried Elder Scrolls Online a bit. I've played both the Guild Wars games. I'm trying to think if there's probably other ones I'm playing that I'm forgetting right now. But yeah, MMOs are a love of mine for sure.
So, MMOs like Destiny and Elder Scrolls Online and RuneScape, they all seem to lock kind of the best content away to the end game. You know, Division has this problem as well, which I've played for a little bit. So I'm kind of wondering, like, does that bother you? Do you just kind of deal with it? Or do you have any tips for me to deal with that? Because there's a lot of MMOs I think I would enjoy playing if I wasn't so intimidated by the prospect of, like, okay, I have to get to the end game and then all the good stuff starts happening.
I think that is definitely a problem in some games. Like, that's how I feel a lot about when I do play Destiny, is that game is very much MMOs like melted down to their very basics of earn a bunch of these square rectangles in your inventory that really stand for nothing else, and then, spend those square rectangles to unlock good rewards to then do the end game content. Something that I really like about RuneScape specifically is the diversity in the game, where it's not a game that's literally just about killing monsters. There's 28 skills in the game, and the majority of them have almost nothing to do with combat. It's kind of what keeps me going back to that game. So that's something that at least I personally find enjoyable, is a diversity in things to do in an MMO, and something that, like, post World of Warcraft, I think a lot of MMOs have lost is I play Elder Scrolls Online, and it feels like a World of Warcraft clone to me. Like, it does do some of its own things, but still, like, I still see primarily this is a World of Warcraft inspired MMO. So I think it's honestly a problem I have with most modern MMOs, and why I go back to RuneScape, because I feel like the diversity of content there, and the fact that there are definitely quests that are locked behind extremely high levels in RuneScape, but they also still put out quests that don't have as ridiculous of requirements as some of the endgame ones would.
Right. I was actually about to, I was having a quick think while you were thinking about this, trying to think of, like, other games that I've played that do similar kind of, like, have a similar kind of diversity of skill set, and I can't. I genuinely can't. Like, I thought, like, the first thought that crossed my mind there was Skyrim. but like almost all of those skills are combat focused. There's like two that I can think of which aren't. And that's blacksmithing and alchemy, and those eventually just lead to combat anyway.
Yeah.
So like it's good to hear that RuneScape, for as old as it is, because that game was released in 2001 originally. I
Yep.
remember
It,
playing it as like a teen growing up.
January will mark its 16-year anniversary.
That's crazy.
It
That's
really is.
that's nuts to me. Um, like
Even crazier. I've been playing that game for 12 years.
that's it's really really awesome when a game can keep people that long and can keep running that long even. Like RuneScape has effectively survived probably three console generations because it would have started like in the peak of the PS2 era because I think I remember me and Mark had a discussion today about how that game now came around about the same time as Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, that
And
sounds about right to me.
yeah, so it's been around since the PS2 was like the biggest thing in gaming because it had all of the really great like Final Fantasies and it was really where graphics and like gameplay began pushing themselves really really forward in a 3D space at least.
The game
Um,
has an amazing origin story too in general. Like it's a game that was made by four or five brothers in their parents' house, and like literally the original cooking sound was their mom frying bacon in their kitchen, things like that about that game.
that's kind of adorable and
It
charming actually.
it is. But as far as games that are similar in its diversity, I do think it's honestly a problem in modern gaming in general. Like most games, there are some. Like I think Stardew Valley is a game that has. I don't even know if there's any fighting in that game because I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet. But
There
it's very
is.
okay. There is, but that game also has a very big focus on building your farm and fishing and things like that. From what I've seen of Twitch playthroughs.
Oh yeah,
Um,
there's a lot more focus on stuff that isn't combat because the combat isn't all that interesting. It's kind of like
gotcha.
it's like Terraria and Starbound kind of combat. Like you just kind of swing your sword and things die is how that game plays.
Okay.
Um, you can only find stuff to fight in the mines though, so you kind of like you'll have to seek it out at some point if you want certain resources. But
I
it's like
gotcha.
it's certainly not a focus.
Yeah, and one of the things about RuneScape too, like I say, there's 28 skills, but the other thing is it's also not like Skyrim in the way where, like in Skyrim, even the skills in that game, even though they are combat related, they also feel like secondary thoughts. Like a skill in RuneScape is its own complete thought out thing, as much as a like any combat skill is in the game. It doesn't take second place, especially like World of Warcraft has the same thing where like fishing in World of Warcraft is a secondary thought that some people do, but it's not something that's like a primary focus or has a ton of development time put into it. You can tell. The only game that I know of to me that's ever come close is Minecraft, to be honest, as far as the diversity of what you can do in the game compared to RuneScape.
Right.
That's the only one that ever comes to mind for me.
I imagine that Dragon Quest Builders would get kind of close to that too. From what I've heard of that game, it takes a lot of the best stuff from Minecraft and then actually like starts directing it into narrative and a lot more questing, which is a really interesting evolution of that formula. This is only going off of what I've heard though, so I can't speak too much on this matter.
Sure, yeah, and I've heard about that game by name, but I've never really heard much said about it. But that's interesting. I might have to look into that because those games, like the other game I've played a ton of in my life is I've been playing Minecraft since Alpha too. So like those kind of games totally scratch an itch for me that I still love to explore.
Gotcha. Um, and as for myself this week, because we've gone into a whole thing. I don't mean to interrupt. But I want to kind of talk about what I've been playing a little bit this week as well.
Oh, I think that's totally fair. I mean, I could talk about RuneScape forever, but we don't have to.
Let's do it. Let's do more after because I'm interested in finding out more about maybe the evolution of RuneScape. Um, this week though, I've been playing. I've returned to Deus Ex: Human Revolution. Um, I have been playing Dishonored. So it basically feels like I've gone back to the year 2011. I've also been playing Fire Emblem Awakening on my 3DS because I've had a lot of time kind of on the bus lately. It's been how I've been having to get to work recently, and so having that style of game has been really really appealing, and it keeps me occupied, and it lets me play, like a chapter while I'm on the bus on my way into work, and a chapter on the way back. So it finally feels like after 2 years of owning that game, I've made some progress in it for the first time.
Oh, that's good. Games to have, yeah. Well, walking around or moving around are definitely good. I mean, I've been spending a lot of time out of the house at some points recently with some family matters going on, and I've been jumping back into iPhone games. Like, there's this ridiculous Batman game that I've been playing that's like basically a Clash of Clans clone, and it's kind of terrible, but it's a Batman game, and I can play Harley Quinn, so like I'm there for it.
You're in, all in.
Pretty much.
Uh,
How are you enjoying Dishonored? When I tried to play that game, I really liked it, but I got hung up on the fact that like the best way to go through it is stealthy, and that kind of burnt me out really quick.
you're not huge on stealth, eh?
I'm just not good at it, and I feel like if I fail a mission at stealth, I have to restart it and do it again, and then like I get bored because I did the same level 5 times.
I mean, I definitely understand that impulse, and I've been playing Dishonored that way on this run. Um, what I tend to do with stealth games, though, is I'll play them stealthy to a point. If I get detected or get into a combat scenario, like that's it. I have to try and defend myself, and that's how I end up playing the stealth games most of the time. And like Dishonored is pretty flexible. You can definitely kill some folks if they like really are getting in your way, and you won't like get the darkest timeline. It's actually like pretty hard to get the darkest timeline in Dark Souls. Wow. In Dishonored, because you have to go really out of your way to get the kill count required for it.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know. I thought it was pretty easy.
So you can actually play it as a hybrid stealth combat.
That's good to know. I need to go. I want to go back to that game at some point because I loved the story and I loved the universe, but it was just the way. I don't think back then I realized that I shouldn't have tried to play it that way. Like I think I've realized for me personally, the best way for me to play a game is just get through the main storyline as quickly as possible because all the side quests or like the trying to do stealth for everything
Right.
will just burn me out of almost any game I try to play.
I know that the side content in Dishonored is actually super cool, and a lot of it does open like alternate paths if you're trying to do stealth. But if you were to do like a more aggressive approach, like I don't know if you'd need to do that as much, you know?
Yeah, and I just think that's the way I need to play because I have. It seems to me that I can just very easily get bored of games. I mean,
Right.
part of I'm one of those people who's like really frustrated with the open worldization of every game these days because like me, I'm like I just want to see the great story that you built and I want to go the whole way through it and then maybe I'll go through it again and then and maybe it'd be good to have and I'll see more content then, but I don't know, like I can't think of a good example of an open world game that like The Witcher 3 is an amazing game, people love it. And I have the hardest time playing it. I'll go like through that game 20 hours at a time and then take a 6-month break because I got bored.
Yeah. I definitely understand that. Um, I got a follow up for that then. What about games which take place in a world which is open, but there's only one narrative thing available at a time. Specifically, I'm thinking of Mafia 2 and LA Noire. Both games were set in open worlds, but you only had like one or two objectives that you could do at a given time. So it still brought you through the story in a very linear progression, but it still
I
gave you the opportunity to go around and explore a bit if you really wanted to. And I think that's a fascinating way to approach open world design. And I think
I
it would
think
have benefited Mafia 3 as well.
I think I would agree. I did not get a chance to play Mafia 2, but I played a decent amount of LA Noire. I kind of ran into a problem there where I felt like if I got a case wrong, I had to restart, which was a terrible thing to fall into. This is a common trap for me to fall into in games, as you can tell. It's just like I feel like if I mess something up, I have to go back and fix it.
You have to get like the best timeline.
Yeah, that yeah, which is very bad. I think I just need to learn to fail games, but I think multi-fail states have kind of messed me. Like the only game that I was ever able to complete I can think of with like a multi-way fail state was the original BioShock, but the original BioShock is super easy to do as a good person. Like, you know, it's literally like, are you killing the kids in that game or are you freeing them? So it's not like it's a hard thing to actually figure out.
It's not a complex moral choice like some people want to like lift that game up to be. Like it's, are you murdering children or not?
Yeah. Well, and it's not like it's something that required, like, you know, LA Noire required you to know how to read these faces, and it was ridiculously hard. And I loved it for that, but it was also something that gave me trouble in wanting to restart missions. But that game was definitely fun, and I agree that one didn't feel too overpowering in an open world sense to me. It felt like I knew what I was supposed to be doing. I knew where the best stuff was because, like you said, it was presented in a very linear way, and that totally works well for me.
I think that yeah, they handled that game really well and handled you know those like in-game chats that you have between missions in open world games? Like they handled that really well too, because if you fast traveled in LA Noire by like telling your partner to drive, you'd get like a nice cinematic of your characters driving down the road, and they'd have that conversation, and you would always see it. And that to me feels like something that alleviates a lot of my kind of frustration with open world design. Is that if I like skip between missions using fast travel, which I've been trying not to do recently, but when I do it, I sometimes feel like, oh, did I miss something on my way in? Like, was there going to be a bit of like narrative that I now don't get to hear?
Yeah, I always feel like a bad person for fast traveling in an open world game for sure. It just seems kind of like, yeah, we put this in here for you, but you really shouldn't be doing this.
I don't know. Like, I get it because I don't know. Like, it feels like a feature that people who do reviews and people who don't have a lot of time, um, with a like given game, really benefit from. But for a casual player, I definitely who can like afford to drop some time into a game, I definitely think it's detrimental. You know?
Yeah, I do, and I think part of my dislike for open world games too comes a lot from my love of MMOs. Like I'm almost always playing an MMO at the same time I'm playing other video games. So if I want to be in a giant expansive world and, you know, be in a big skill system and doing that kind of stuff, I will just go into my MMO where that stuff is almost always better executed because it's a long-term game that they want to last for a very long time, and I will get all that from there. And when I go to my, you know, non-MMO like game, I literally just want to get through the story because that's what I care about in this game.
Right. It's definitely the case for me as well. Like if I'm playing a game, it's probably for the story. Um, with some rare exceptions, one of which you play as well. Some Overwatch.
Yes, I play a ton of Overwatch. One of my favorite games of this year for sure.
I I've been blown away by Overwatch. I wasn't expecting to like it at all because it's like definitely not my kind of game, and I didn't try it in the betas, and I was like, oh, I don't know, it's gonna be. It seems like it's gonna be not great. Turns out, actually, they made it like really good and really compelling for me personally to play. So I'm glad that that
Yeah,
game exists and
I
that it's been
love.
doing so well.
I have always been a first-person shooter fan, but the one thing I love about Overwatch is the fact that it is a first-person shooter for people who aren't good at first-person shooters as much as it is for people who are. The diversity, not every character is a you have to aim really well hit scan character, which allows people who just aren't good at that stuff or don't want to be good at that stuff to play it. And that is, or even like me, if I there'll just be nights where I'm like, I don't feel like trying to figure out how to aim tonight, so I'm just gonna play Reaper.
And like Overwatch has actually helped me like become better at other video games. Like I've mentioned earlier that I've been playing Fire Emblem. And the way that Overwatch has made me better at Fire Emblem is that it's given me the language to communicate with and like understand how am I building this strategy and why.
So,
Um,
what is Fire Emblem like? I know the name and mostly from your podcast, but I don't actually know super detailed about like how that game plays or anything. Is there
okay,
kind of an
so are you
analogy here?
familiar with XCOM?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, for our listeners who may not be familiar with either of these titles, Fire Emblem and XCOM both share a similar type of design where you have a variety of units and they move around on a grid and fight enemies. You take turns moving all your units, then the enemy takes turns moving all their units. Uh, to make this easy for Harley as well, Fire Emblem is XCOM with swords.
Okay, this
And
sounds like a
like
game I would like.
and like actual characters. It's told all the story is told through a visual novel. Um, and all of the like gameplay is turn-based strategy.
Okay, is the story? Have you ever played like the original Mad Max games?
No, I haven't. I've only
Okay,
played last year's.
okay. Well, I think it was a couple years ago now, but yeah, the original Mad Max games were also told in a graphic novel comic book sense. So I wasn't sure if it was similar to that or not. But
Okay. Are you possibly thinking Max Payne?
that's what I meant. Why did I say? Yeah, I am
I don't
thinking
know
Max
why
Payne.
you said Mad Max.
I think it's because I've been
Because
playing that game this week. That's probably why. So that's on my brain.
that Mad Max game is really good, actually.
It is. I was going to bring the Mad Max game up. It got like tanked in reviews, which I do not understand because it is
I
actually
mean, like
surprisingly good.
it's. I can understand why it got tanked in the reviews. Like, there's some stuff that's frustrating in there, and there's stuff that's like I totally agree feels a bit like by the numbers. But I also call into question why Mad Max fails when it has so much more interesting stuff going for it than Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor, which was a huge critical success. And
Well,
I imagine part of that is because it's Lord of the Rings, and I imagine part of it is because the Nemesis system is still like really really inventive. But
well, to me, something I always think about is like, why does Mad Max get poo pooed when, like, to me, it's like Fallout 4 was so dang popular. And I'm like, Fallout 4 just looks like Fallout 3 with better graphics. And, like, there isn't actually anything that original or new in this game, which is fine if that's what you want. But, like, that game, is beloved by so many people. And I don't understand that part either.
yeah, um, yeah, that Mad Max game is really good. Max Payne is also really good.
Okay.
When I say a visual novel, though, I'm talking more like Danganronpa. If you're
Okay.
familiar with that,
Gotcha.
like
Yeah, I am.
you have like two sprites on either side, and it's the characters expressing like a static emotion.
Okay, that makes sense now. I got you.
Yeah, so that's kind of how Fire Emblem's story is delivered. Um, it's really good. Like that game is really good. There's like a lot of cool stuff, a lot of great magic.
Is that
Uh,
a handheld only game?
it is handheld. Well, the recent ones have been handheld only. Yes. There are other Fire Emblem games that were released on the Game Boy Advance and the GameCube. Um, and those are available on Virtual Console for the most part. Some of them you'll have to
Okay.
emulate on a PC, but you can actually get like the original Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem games just on the Virtual Console for the Wii or Wii U.
I guess I will have to hold out hope that the Switch, which is a hilarious name, by the way, actually is good. And because I don't own a Nintendo console right now, but I'm thinking about the Switch will probably be something I might buy if it actually lives up to what it's promising.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really good so far. I'm From what I've seen of stuff that's running on it and the design of it, the size of it, how it like looks like it's going to look and feel like, I think Nintendo might have something with the Switch. And if this rumor that the Switch will also run GameCube games is true, like that's it. Like a Switch will
Yeah.
be in my house day one.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my favorite games are on the GameCube. So
Yeah, I have
if
a lot
that
of
suddenly
memories.
comes to if that comes to the Switch, I can start playing those again.
Play the old what was it, Monkey Ball franchise again. I'm so down
Oh
for that.
Jesus. Uh I was more thinking like Super Mario Sunshine, Luigi's
I
Mansion.
I figured I have very different tastes when it comes to Nintendo console games than most people.
Yeah.
I really don't like the Nintendo. Most of the Nintendo main games, like the Mario games I remember are all like NES and 64 versions of those games. I don't.
Right, so like not the 3D ones basically.
Yeah, the 3D ones still feel like so very strange to me.
I definitely understand that. The two, like, I've been so happy with the renaissance of Mario recently because we've had Mario Maker, now also on the 3DS. We've had Super Mario Run coming out pretty soon. So
Yeah, I
like
can't
2D
decide how I.
Mario is 2D Mario is back and it's cool again.
Yeah, Mario Maker looks amazing. I am excited for a Switch to play that game too because that sounds fantastic. The Mario Run game for mobile phones, I don't know how I feel about that game because I don't know if it's going to be any different than every other endless runner I've played.
It does look like it's keeping to that traditional Mario formula, but it's simplifying the control so that it works on mobile,
Well,
which makes me interested in that.
I don't even mean like Mario. Like I can't think of an endless runner for mobile, but there's that's like a very common thing to make for mobile phones is an endless runner, and so I'm just hoping that they will make it feel different than all the ones that I've already played on my iPhone. You know?
Right. So this week I've got a couple questions for both of us to answer. Are you ready for that?
Yep. Let's hop into it.
All right. Our first question comes from at Kitty Pup on Twitter, who asks, "What is your opinion on the Geralt bathtub?" My answer is that it's extremely good.
It is. That's my answer too. Geralt is fantastic in general. I'm a giant
I'm
lesbian, but I'm a fan of Geralt.
I'm so surprised by how well Geralt worked in The Witcher 3. Like I've played through part of The Witcher 1 and all of The Witcher 2 and like he never really resonated with me all that much until 3. And 3 was where like it feels like they established Geralt's role in the world. it feels like they established him as a character just so much better. It made me enjoy that game a lot more.
Yeah, that game nails like every character development so well. Like the women in that game are fantastic, and even just like the side characters that you'll talk to for 5 minutes, everything is so very well fleshed out. I totally agree.
And I mean, it's been talked to death as well, but like the Bloody Baron side quest and like all the stuff that is in The Witcher is just so well crafted that
Yeah,
it still is a standout game. Like we're coming up on like 2 years later almost.
yeah, the Bloody Baron quest was that quest took you places. It was the
Yeah, it sure
women in
did
the
some shit, huh?
it did. The swamp was a very strange place.
Oh, it's a strange and beautiful place. And there was no good way that that was going to end. Like
No,
that story it really does take some twists and turns and like everything it feels like a really good example of gray morality in games, which is something that games all too often completely fucking fail at. But The Witcher
yeah.
3 really feels like it nails the shades of gray of morality in its worlds and in everything it does. It doesn't try to be like cynical about it, like, oh, both sides are bad. It's actually like, oh, yeah, like sometimes you do things that you think are good and it turns out they're not that great.
Now, I don't know how spoilerific we want to go on the Bloody Baron questline specifically.
Let's not get too spoilerific because The Witcher 3 is pretty extensive and like this is 30 to 40. Like if you're playing it kind of slowly, it's 30 40 hours in.
Oh yeah, I guess
Uh
that's true. That quest felt like it came up early to me, but I probably lost. I think I was streaming that game, so I probably lost track of where I was. But in a non spoilerific way, did you come down like hard on the Baron in the end, or were you sympathetic towards him?
I think in the end, I ended up being a little bit sympathetic to him. Like I kind of understood what was going on. I didn't think he was like a great dude, but I still like understood his plight in the end. I was able to be a little bit sympathetic because I found out all of the details and I got an ending which I would say is good. Um
I
like it,
definitely,
it was as good as it could be.
yeah. I came down. I still came down on him pretty hard. I still felt like, I mean, there was definitely a lot of gray in that quest, but to me, there was still too much like assholery from him specifically that made me like I couldn't be nice to him in the end.
Mm. I think in my playthrough he ended up kind of redeeming himself in the end. So I don't know.
Interesting. I don't think
Yeah,
he
like
did in mine.
there's
I
a
can't remember though. It's been a little while.
there's a specific way that you can make him redeem himself. It's a choice to do with the tree. The tree choice that you make determines if you get the good ending or the bad ending, and I ended up getting the good ending at a moral cost.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what I did there, but that game, like to me, the best thing about that game is the war story it's telling. It does such an amazing job of showing like a very true cost of what a war ravaged land looks like and feels like, and like the amount of destruction that is just wreaked upon these people who of course don't deserve this at the cost of like rich emperors and assholes like that.
People who are never going to be exposed to it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they're still up in their high towers in The Witcher 3. Like
Yep.
all these emperors moving like in some case with some characters like literal chess pieces around. Um, you have all these characters who are never going to be touched,
Yep.
and you
I,
have all the foot soldiers.
at the beginning of that game, when you get called by the Emperor, I had to give that guy so much crap, which I kind of felt bad for because the steward person is supposedly going to get in trouble, but I was like, I can't just bow to this guy. It's like, no, it's not going to happen. Not in my personality.
Yeah, I think The Witcher 3 is another game that we could talk about
We could.
for like hours, and maybe we'll have to save that for a repeat appearance from you sometime.
Yeah.
Um, I would unquestionably like to talk about this game just so much more. Maybe we could do like a spoiler cast or something.
I would be down for that. I need to play it more and actually get through the whole thing, but I would totally be down for that.
I need to I've got my Christmas break coming up pretty soon, so I'm gonna I have 3 weeks off, and I'm going to try my best to finish the Witcher in that time.
I would say one more thing about that game is that game in many ways to me felt like a modern RuneScape too. Just because like there's a lot of preparation you do for battle in that game, and it doesn't actually have a bunch of it does have some side skills, but like just how battle worked and how it was a big preparation, and you were using all these different items and things. Like one of the things about RuneScape combat is like you will actually sometimes carry like 4 or 5 weapons with you to fight one boss, and you will be switching through them throughout the fight depending on what you were trying to do, what abilities you want to use, and things like that. And The Witcher is very similar to that.
Mm. I think that the aspect of preparation that's come from games like Monster Hunter and Dark Souls less so. Like you could probably you can wing basically all of Dark Souls, but like Monster Hunter and The Witcher have got a lot of preparation that goes into the most major battles, and it makes them feel so much more significant. And I really appreciate that little facet of their design.
Yeah, Monster Hunter. Listening to this podcast has made me want to play that game series because I've never gotten a chance to. But yeah, The Witcher it adds so much more feeling to every big battle you fight because you spend so much time getting ready, and it doesn't feel tedious. Like some games, getting ready for battles feels super tedious, but in The Witcher, it actually feels like you're doing something, and everything you're doing makes sense.
On the note of Monster Hunter as well, like one aspect of its design that I would criticize is that because the focus is on like doing these big battles constantly, it can occasionally feel like it loses its sense of like scope, you know?
Okay.
Um just because like I said, you're fighting big stuff all the time. You're like every time you go into a monster hunt, you are looking at potentially a 20, 30, 40 minute hunt for one monster.
Oh, okay. That kind of
So because you're doing that like on a constant basis, it can start to feel a little bit less significant as you play it.
yeah, I could understand that. Does that game have much story to it, or is it basically all just about the
Um,
combat?
a lot of it is about the combat in 3 at least. I know they added a bunch more in 4 and Generations. So, those may be a better starting point.
Okay.
Both those are going to be handheld only as well. They're only on the 3DS.
Yeah, and this is another thing that hopefully the Switch will solve for me because there's no way I'm ever going to buy a 3DS, but there's a chance of the Switch, so I'll hopefully play Monster Hunter on there.
Hopefully, I don't doubt that like Nintendo will, or sorry, Capcom will make a Monster Hunter game for the Switch if it proves to be successful. So
Yeah.
I think the Switch is going to be probably the most interesting story to follow over 2017 because one, we haven't seen anything like this before. A hybrid console is unheard of, and Nintendo kind of made a step there with the Wii U, but this is kind of a vision of the future of what gaming could be.
Yeah, I totally
And
agree. It is.
it's also going to be interesting because the Wii U was such a flop.
Yeah, and it was a flop off of the huge success of the Wii. It was very, very strange to see them, go so high and then fall so hard on their face for the next version.
Exactly. And I mean, they put out a lot of really great and innovative games on the Wii U, and like made some really good stuff happen. Like Bayonetta 2 happened because Nintendo stepped
Yeah,
in. Thank you, Nintendo.
yeah.
Thank you.
I will
Um,
need to play that on the Switch because the Bayonetta is freaking amazing, and
I
I'm
hope that it
sad that I
gets.
can't.
I hope that it gets put on the Switch. I really do.
That's the, it is the perfect console for a Bayonetta game too, just because of the name specifically.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like this has been a very horny year for Nintendo.
It really
Because
has.
we have the Switch and Pokemon S and M.
Yup. My favorite
Hey,
joke,
Nintendo.
which I came up like right when the Switch came out, is I am really excited to earn subs on Twitch while playing my Switch.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. I have another one as well. Have you heard about Nintendo's Witch?
That is
I got
great.
another question for us.
Okay.
Um, so Crash Bandicoot is getting a remake or remaster
Woot
in the
woot.
coming days. If you could pick any older game or series to get a reboot or remaster, what would you choose?
This is a ridiculously hard question. I'm going to have to think about this because I, as you know, am like super stoked for the Crash Bandicoot remake specifically. I actually
Mm-hmm.
sent you a question post E3 about this for the show, asking how excited you were, and was very angry at you both for not being super excited because Crash Bandicoot is amazing.
I'd never played it when I was like I didn't have a PlayStation 1 growing up, so I never played it.
That's
So I don't
fair.
have that I don't have the nostalgia for it. Like a lot of like classic game series like Final Fantasy, like I don't have a lot of nostalgia for that. So
Yeah, I
when I
don't.
approach these games, it's a new thing.
Okay, that's fair. That'll be interesting to see if you actually get it, how it will hold up because I don't know. I don't know how this franchise will hold up to people who didn't play it before because it's a very much of its era type game. I
Mm.
I was had very limited access to video games as a kid. I didn't actually have like any consoles when they were relevant. Like the newest console I had until I was like 16, 17 was a Sega Genesis because my parents just didn't really let me play video games, so I bought like thrift shop consoles for myself, and that was how I survived. And played at
Hmm.
like my friend's house. I think the one dentist office I went to had a PlayStation 1, and that is literally how I played Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, God, I had to
But
think about what series I'd want to have remastered though.
yeah, right. I'm trying to think of that too, and there is nothing popping straight into my head. I mean, one thing that kind of does is the Halo franchise because those games are really near and dear to me. But they've also already done a remaster of that. I would be okay with a reboot though.
Yeah, God. You know, one thing is sticking out in my head. Actually, two. I'll touch on them both very briefly. Golden Sun, which was a turn-based RPG series that was on the Game Boy Advance. I would love to see that updated for the modern era. And Paper Mario. I would like to see classic Paper Mario make a return, please.
I don't think I ever got to play Paper Mario.
Uh, well, that's a situation that you should sincerely consider having a look at because
Yeah,
you are missing out on one of the greatest games that's ever been created.
I'm putting a lot of hope in the fact that the Switch will be a console worth buying, and it will have all these games that people talk about, so that I can play them because Yeah, there was a lot of stuff I missed out on in my childhood that I would like to try, and I just haven't felt a Nintendo console was worth me buying.
Yeah. And I mean, like, the Switch will be able to play, like, Nintendo 64 games and all that. So you'll be able to go back and play stuff that is now widely considered to be classic on these consoles.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll be great
I
for
I
me
have
because
Paper Mario on the Wii U, and it still holds up.
like I have barely gotten a chance to play any Zelda games, even like
Hmm.
unfortunate sad thing that people love that franchise, and I never had a chance to play it. And the new one looks terrible to me because it's just another open world game. But I totally want to play the old ones.
What was frustrating about Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild so far is that I was watching the Switch get unveiled for the first time at Jimmy Fallon's show, because that was the thing that Reggie and Shigeru Miyamoto did. Um,
Oh, I missed that. I'll have to check that out.
yeah, it happened last night actually. So
Oh, okay.
I'll shoot you the clip as soon as we're done recording. But I was watching it last night, and I had to actually turn it off because the thing that Reggie was doing while talking about this game was, you remember that? You remember when Todd Howard was talking about Skyrim, and he said, "Did you see a mountain? You can go to it. You can climb it." Reggie was doing the same thing.
Oh
Anything
my
you see
god.
here, you can go to it, and it's like, okay, Reggie, you're repeating like
You're
the
about
beats of the last 5 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're about 5 years late on that sounding amazing.
Yeah, like, hey, like, you don't really sound innovative with this presentation. You sound like you're just trying to tick some boxes, which doesn't give me a lot of faith in how Breath of the Wild is going to be. But there's a hot bird man, so
Oh, well then, yeah, I can see you're definitely in there.
I'm looking at it at the very least. It's like, you have my attention.
So
You
I thought of
give me bird people.
you bringing up. I forget the first game you mentioned, but it reminded me of something that I would love to see either remastered or potentially a whole series reboot, and that is Stronghold 2. I don't know if you ever played the Stronghold series of games.
I did not know. Never heard of it.
It's a medieval series. It's kind of like an Age of Empires like thing, but it's a bit it's different in some ways where like you build like your castle and then you build the surrounding like village around it and things like that and grow it up over the ages. And Stronghold 2 is by far my favorite. They released one in 2012 or 2013 that kind of completely went away from where the franchise was, and it got terrible reviews. I never actually played it because of how bad the reviews were. But one of my favorite things about that franchise is, unlike a lot of other RTS games, it literally had a mode that was just about building the coolest castle and town that you could. Like, there was no combat. It was basically, I forget what exactly they called it, but it was like kind of like what creative mode would be in some games these days. But it was like, just see how cool and beautiful you can build your empire. And I loved that mode in those games.
Yeah, I'm looking on Steam right now, and yeah, this looks really really interesting actually. I haven't played an RTS in years.
Yeah, I would still recommend Stronghold 2. I didn't play it until like 2010, and it was still super fun. I imagine even today, it would still be a super fun game to check out and play. So if you
It
haven't,
looks like they only have the first Stronghold with like a remaster of that actually.
okay,
But they do have Stronghold Crusader.
I
I don't
think
know.
that might be the newest one. I'm not sure,
Stronghold
but Stronghold.
Crusader 2 looks like it was the newest one.
Okay. The original Stronghold, from what I remember, too, was really great. Stronghold 2 is the one that holds like the most
Oh,
memory
Okay,
in
so
my.
Stronghold Crusader was Stronghold 2.
Oh,
The highly
interesting.
anticipated sequel to the best-selling Stronghold, and like it has overwhelmingly positive reviews, about 2,000 of them. This
Okay, so
actually looks
No, actually, no. Stronghold Crusader was the sequel to Stronghold 2. What? No, no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I was looking on Wikipedia trying to understand how these games are.
Structured.
Yeah,
This looks really good.
it is. It really is. Yeah, Stronghold Crusader 2 is the latest one that came out to kind of mixed reviews, but
Yeah.
Stronghold Crusader might even be one that I played and totally forgot about. But yeah, if you like RTS games, and they had such an original spin on it, like the closest thing I can think to compare it to is Age of Empires, but it feels nothing like it. Like I said, it's primarily focused around you building a castle, hence Stronghold being the name of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, my favorite thing to do, like whenever I play an RTS game, is to just build a giant empire and like fight, and I only fight defensively until I get bored, and then I go wipe out the enemy. Like I'll build an army that's way bigger. Like I play StarCraft 2 and I play in like open mode. I will build an army way bigger than what I need, just because that's the fun to me, is researching everything, building up as big a civilization as possible, and then when I'm bored of the game, ending it.
Right. Yeah, this looks really fascinating. And you also reminded me of something that I think you will like if you eventually get around to playing Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem Fates has a feature where you can just build up a pretty castle.
Oh, that sounds perfect to me.
Like
Now
it
I
does
wanna-
costs resources that you get from completing the story missions
Okay.
to build up all these like individual buildings, but they like give you little shops and stuff like that you can go to. So it gives you incentive to build up the castle, but it also just lets you like put decorations down and make it look pretty.
That sounds great. Those are definitely, yeah. There is something about those that just makes me extremely happy. Like I mean, like I said, I played a ton of Minecraft too, and with Minecraft, like sure I'll do combat, but still the main point to me in that game is like building giant ridiculous things.
For sure. All right. I think that's going to kind of do it for us this week. Harley, what are you looking forward to playing this week?
Um, I am looking forward to hopefully finishing Everybody's Gone to Rapture and continuing my Mad Max playthrough, and maybe The Witcher 3 now that we've talked about that so much.
You've got it on the brain now.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Um, Autumn, my fiance, actually finished Everybody's Gone to the Rapture in a single sitting last night, and she like recommended it to me unconditionally and enthusiastically when she was done. So
Yeah,
sounds like it's going to be on my list pretty soon. I got it free with PS Plus, which was awesome.
yeah. That's why I started playing it. I'm pretty sure that I am the one who inspired her to play that game because we were talking about it 2 or 3 nights ago, and then I told her that it was made by the same company who made one of her other favorite games, which I can't think of the name of right now. And she was like, "Oh my god, I need to play that."
Dear Esther is the game. I
Yep.
remember she mentioned this conversation now. So, yeah, you did it. Good job. She recommended it to me enthusiastically. So, I'm going to have a look at that, I think.
That game, it is super fun. It is an amazing game. Like it takes place, well, at least the part that I've played, and I'm pretty sure the entire game, it's in the middle of broad daylight, but the game makes you feel so uncomfortable and eerie in many areas. It's very well designed just for that part. I haven't gotten to the end yet, of course, but I'm loving that part of it.
For sure. I'm looking forward this week to I'm probably going to keep playing some Dishonored. I think that is going to be something I'm going to try and, make some progress in. Um hmm,
Now, are you
I
playing
don't
Dishonored
know.
to get ready for Dishonored 2, or
Yeah, I have Dishonored 2. Actually, when I bought Dishonored 2, I bought a physical disc, and it came with a free copy of Dishonored 1 on PS4.
oh,
So
that's
I've used
nice.
this as an excuse to go back and play Dishonored 1 while I get ready for Dishonored 2. So I'm gonna probably make some stepping stones on that. Probably some more Overwatch this week as well, and I might try out the new Rocket League update that just dropped.
Oh, there was a Rocket League update? I didn't even know
Yeah, they
about
added
that.
a new map.
Ah, I will have to check that out.
Space Station Arc, I think there was a new car that was added as well.
I I love Rocket League, that's for sure.
Rocket League is so much fun.
It really is. I was surprised. I started playing it again like a month ago after I hadn't played in a long time, and my skills have actually held up pretty decently, which I was kind of surprised to
Yeah,
get. I thought that they would degrade pretty quickly because that game is like no other game that you really play ever.
yeah. I really need to do more of the training stuff, honestly, just so I like get my hands on it a little bit more.
You have that game on PC, right? Not PS4?
Yeah, I have it on PC.
Ah, sad. You should get it on PS4 sometime.
Maybe I'll think about it.
We can also
Um,
crossplay. That is the nice thing, but you can only do like versus stuff. You can't, go into matchmaking.
yeah,
Unfortunately, you know what
yeah.
is we were sorry we were talking
Oh,
about Overwatch and what is coming out. We get the Christmas event on Tuesday.
oh yeah, that's right. Shit. Yep, I'm going to be putting a lot of time in competitive. I think to you know try and get my rank up. I got ranked 700 after the last season. Like I'm not feeling great
Oh,
about that.
that ranking system. I so miss the season one ranking system. In my personal opinion, I'm a huge fan of actual honest ranking systems that are like don't try to pad where my numbers are at, and I also just feel like they work better. Like I've known a lot of people in season two who were ranked way lower than they should have been.
Count me as one of them. I
Yeah,
was
I
ranked
totally believe
starting
it.
at 1600 and then I solo queued. And then I became 1000 by this season's end. So that was not great. And then this season I got matched after 6 victories, 4 losses in my placement matches. I got matched as 700.
Oh my goodness, that sucks. There, sub 2000 in that game. It's so hard to get out of because you just
It is a motherfucking living hell nightmare.
yeah.
I hate it. Um, that new update, by the way, I have put that in for you. Starbase Arc, and it
Okay,
also
awesome.
includes a custom training thing too. So you can actually you can go ahead and practice aerials and stuff like that in a way that is perhaps a little bit more practical and meaningful.
Oh, that sounds great because that's something I definitely need practice. I'm terrible at.
Yeah, this update looks like it's done some good and cool stuff. So Rocket League is looking like I'm gonna enjoy it a lot.
Do you play Rocket League with a controller or do you use
Yeah, I
the?
do
Okay, I
because
think that's the
like
preferred way.
I'm a normal human. It's how I would describe why I play Overwatch or sorry, Rocket League with a controller. I play Overwatch with a controller too.
Oh, that's got to
Um,
be hard on the PC. It puts you at a
it's fine
disadvantage.
actually. Like it's not it doesn't feel like a disadvantage, especially because I've figured out ways around some of the limitations that a controller might have. Like you know how Farah does the hover and rocket jump and stuff like that.
Yeah,
How she's intended to be up in the air. Uh, Normally A is jump, right? So
yeah,
instead for Farah, I've just had to set it up to be left trigger because it wasn't doing anything anyway. So now I have left trigger, which allows me to aim and jump around, maintain my aerial advantage while using a controller.
yeah. Absolutely. That is something that if you play with the controller in Overwatch, you have to do because some of the settings work fine for some of the characters, but because of how diverse the characters are, you need to set up custom. Like my top 10 played characters all have completely custom control schemes because it just makes me so much better. Like Diva, Mercy, Widowmaker, Pharah, Reaper, they're all set up very differently based on what that character does.
I'm surprised at how effective I can be with just the default control scheme on most characters. It's just Pharah that I had the trouble with, really.
Okay. I have
Like
found
I can still do a really effective Mei and all that jazz.
Yeah, May is one that I don't think I've customized much because that's pretty well. It's stuff like Diva was one where I wanted to customize, and Mercy I have super customized because it just makes it easier. It makes it easier to play Farm Mercy if you have her jump on a trigger as well.
Yeah. One thing I've done kind of for Mercy, but it also affects Torbjorn, is so I have a controller which I can customize controls literally on the controller because I have there's a couple custom buttons that I can bind to anything else I want on the controller. So I have one of these bound to the right D-pad, which sets off Torbjorn's hammer or Mercy's gun.
Okay, that makes sense. That's nice. Yeah, I can see how
It's a good
help.
bind that doesn't require me to actually go into Overwatch's settings and change it because I can just put it on a profile and load it up when I need it.
Ah, nice.
I think my other one is set up for Dying Light right now.
I can't even think of how many customizations on Overwatch, but I definitely went overboard. I mean, I play so much of that game, and I also play. I have 200 hours, but my top played character is only 28 hours, and it's Diva because Diva is the best character in the game by far, and she's adorable, and I want to marry her, but
I do love Diva.
She's a trash gamer just like I am, so I appreciate her.
I mean, I kind of want to say you're not wrong. That also feels mean.
I mean,
Am I being mean?
No, I'm a self-admitted trash gamer. It's okay.
Okay. I do love Diva. I think my favorite character, kind of overall, might be Sombra right now.
I have not gotten good at Sombra yet. I still suck.
She's really good on defense. I will say that.
She is. She definitely is. I think her health pack hacking is going to need a nerf as far as time goes because that feels slightly overpowered to me.
I agree with that. Anyway, thank you all for tuning into the Overwatch cast. It's another one of those games where we could talk about it for hours and hours, but I think we need to put the wraps on it here.
Agreed.
Harley, where
yes.
can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at The Next Fan on Twitter. My Twitch stream is Queen of Blaze. I don't have a very set schedule on that, but I do stream sometimes. I'm actually doing a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic playthrough right now. So
wow.
You should come check that out. Yeah, that's one of my favorite games from my childhood, and I had to revisit it again.
I haven't played that game in ages.
Yeah, me either. And it's been great to go back into it. My podcasts, both RuneScape Weekly and RuneScape Ladies Night, can be found at runeweek.com. And yeah, did you know that Knights of the Old Republic does not have 3D look?
Wait, sorry?
Knights of the Republic does not. You cannot. Not 3D. I can't think of the right word, but you can't look up and down. You can only look left and right in that game.
Oh yeah, it's like a thing that's there, huh?
Yeah, I had totally my memory of that game was that I could look in any direction I wanted to, and when I first started playing it through it again, I was like, oh, I can't. This is strange.
God, that is weird. Even Dragon Age did that. Anyway, I don't want to get too off topic.
Oh no,
I'm on the internet.
I had to mention that quickly.
Yeah, I'm on the internet basically everywhere as Cockatiel Cutie. Makes it very easy to find me. You can also find my blog at bird.school, where I make such jokes as Hey Harley, what do you call a game about skateboarding ghost teens?
I don't know. What do you call it?
Ollie Ollie Oxenfree.
Okay. I like
Stupid.
I like bad jokes. Bad jokes are the best jokes.
Yeah, that's the kind of content that you can expect. You can expect jokes about the games Ollie Ollie and Oxenfree, and
Oh,
also
I
me
feel
getting
like
mad about like Metal Gear Solid being a bad series.
I feel like a good thing to mention too is if you are out there and you need a safe place gaming community, please check out Feminist War Cult. They can be found on Twitter at Fem War Cult, and it is a fantastic place for people of all genders, all races. Nobody is discriminated against, and it's a fantastic group of people to hang out with.
I totally agree as a member of Feminist War Cult myself. Harley, it's been excellent to have you on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Uh,
I super enjoyed this.
yeah, I would very much like to have you back sometime if you'd be okay with that.
Absolutely. I'm totally down. I'd love to be back when the other co host is on, whose name I can't remember because I'm terrible with names.
Mark.
Mark. Yes. There we go. That's what I thought it
Um,
was, but I didn't want to embarrass myself and get it wrong.
that's fair enough. I'd like to give a quick shout out to Anamanaguchi, who does our theme music. It's the song John Hughes off of the album Endless Fantasy. I keep mentioning it. I love Anamanaguchi's music, and yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to them because we totally do that. Um, Also, would like to thank everyone for listening. If you're listening on iTunes, give us a rating or review. It really helps us kind of build the show up. You can find the show on Twitter at PauseCast Show. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/PauseCast Show. And that's going to do it for us this week, I think. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Cheers.